The topic for today is the Cosmic Serpent, a phenomenon that manifests to those hallucinating from taking a powerful psychedelic known as DMT that's capable of producing extremely vivid hallucinations. Please note that YouTube demonetizes content that mentions the names of certain substances and penalizes them in the algorithm. So I've replaced the M in the middle of this word with an N whenever I say it so as to avoid this. DMT is the primary psychoactive alkaloid in a number of different plants and is produced in the human brain and released at the point of death for reasons presently unknown. It's regarded as sacred by various different shamanic traditions and used in a plethora of age-old rituals and ceremonies. One of the interesting features of DMT is that similar entities appear time and time again to those who take it, and even in many cases seem to have the same personalities, suggesting the presence of other consciousnesses hidden deep within the human psyche that it's capable of unlocking. The Cosmic Serpent is one of the most prevalent and fascinating of these creatures. It's been described by some who have encountered it as overseeing all the other beings witnessed during DMT hallucinations and emitting a godly aura. Many have reported that the serpent has imparted life-changing wisdom to them. It's a large snake that radiates an atmosphere of all-knowingness and communicates telepathically with those who encounter it. Interestingly, many who have come across it were sceptics and atheists before doing so, and ended up as firm believers in spirituality afterwards, finding themselves completely changed by the experience. One such figure was Jeremy Narby, an anthropologist who ended up consuming a plant containing DMT with a Peruvian shaman whilst investigating claims that local tribesmen's phenomenal knowledge of biochemistry and the healing properties of plants had been imparted to them by spiritual beings while they were hallucinating. Narby originally believed that this was probably bunkum, but was nevertheless intrigued given that the tribesmen were privy to scientific knowledge that those in the West took centuries to discover despite having far more technology at their disposal. After taking DMT, two intertwined serpents soon began communicating with Narby and told him of the folly of his presumption of knowledge. They explained that I'm just a human being, he later wrote of the experience. I feel my mind crack, and in the fishes I see the bottomless arrogance of my presuppositions. It is profoundly true that I'm just a human being, and most of the time I have the impression of understanding everything, whereas here I find myself in a more powerful reality that I do not understand at all, and that, in my arrogance, I did not even suspect existed. He went away from the experience convinced that this creature had indeed taught the natives their impressive array of biological facts. Another non-believer who reported having his entire worldview altered by an encounter with the serpent is British comedian Paul Smith. He describes having it telepathically communicate with him despite him having no previous knowledge of its existence or frame of reference for imagining it, and it then taking him on a journey through a landscape composed of a rainbow of colours that he'd never seen before. That has to be the biggest change because 2 years ago I was quite a strong atheist, and now I worship a rainbow snake, he said of the experience. He later got the being tattooed on his chest because it was so important to him. So what exactly is the Cosmic Serpent? Surely something that's capable of evoking such powerful sentiments in people and changing their entire belief system can't merely be a figment of their imagination. Well, some believe it's actually their own DNA talking to them, which would explain why it sometimes appears as a pair of snakes twisted around one another. There's also evidence to support this hypothesis. While investigating the source of the Peruvian tribesmen's scientific discoveries, Narby showed some paintings of cosmic serpents and other strange zigzags created by shamans from the tribe to a molecular biologist, who was amazed at the fact that they had many features in common with DNA strands. Those are triple helixes, and that's DNA from afar looking like a telephone cord, the biologist told him. This looks like chromosomes at a specific phase. There's the spread out form of DNA, and right next to it are DNA spools in their nucleosome structure. Narby deduced that the shamans were able to zoom in on the consciousness of individual DNA strands, which was essentially what the Cosmic Serpent is. In explanation of how this might be possible, it's notable that DNA emits biophotons, which scientists have discovered to act as a conduit for language that enables cells to communicate with one another. Could it be that this is also a way in which DNA can communicate with the beings it comprises? The idea of DNA being both conscious in its own right and a basic building block of life is in line with the notion of Brahma consciousness, in which the essence of the divine permeates through all living beings. It would also explain the fact that snakes feature in the creation myths of a plethora of different cultures, with serpent deities being said to have created the world in religious traditions found in Persia, Egypt, Australia, Mexico and the Amazon. Aztec mythology even features two twin serpents, Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca, in much the same way as there are two helixes in DNA. It's also possible that the serpent in the Garden of Eden represents the rebellious nature in man's own DNA coming to the forefront. So what are the wider implications of the idea of our DNA being able to communicate with us? It suggests that we should pay attention to both what our bodies and the subconscious elements of our biological makeup are telling us, and that semi-independent consciousness might exist within us at a microscopic level. It's also notable that the Cosmic Serpent frequently reassures those it manifests to that death is not the end, and that there's a world beyond this one. Given that it's been capable of teaching native peoples about scientifically verifiable biological phenomenon, it's perhaps worth us taking its words seriously. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you continue to join me on this journey.